Hey, middle-aged gamers, welcome back. We are here on a rainy Tuesday in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, and then from a nice weather, from what I heard from Antoine in Canada somewhere. Um, quite a few things happening. We got a few games being released next week. We might talk about them, we might not, but there's still lots of other news happening. And I figured we'd have to start with everyone's favorite horror franchise, Silent Hill, except mine because I don't like horror games. Tell us, Adam.
All right, well, if you don't like horror, you're gonna hate this one. Excuse me, having a bit of a sore throat this week. So we recently had the Silent Hill transmission. Just came out a couple days ago, and yeah, we've gotten a brand new trailer, which is kind of a reveal trailer for the game, and we've gotten a lot of information from this. So we still don't know when the game is coming out, but it is going to be likely this year. Some people are expecting it to be sometime in the fall, maybe September or October, but it is available to wishlist right now. And you can wishlist it on PlayStation, Xbox Series, Steam, Epic, and Windows. So lots of different places you're going to be able to play this game. We discovered that it's going to be, I mean, we already knew it was going to be taking place in Japan. It's going to be taking place in a city called, I hope I pronounced this correctly, Ebisugaoka. So anyway, this is modeled after a real city, which is Kanayama, which is in Garo, which is in the Gifu Prefecture. So it's modeled after a real city. It's kind of a traditional city. It's also set in the 1960s. So it's going to be very different from the previous Silent Hills. And it's actually going to be completely unrelated to the Silent Hills. So they did say that this is, a completely different thing. They said, we've seen Silent Hill in the past and we've seen all the, the pain and the psychological torment that people have gone through there. So there's a lot of history in the actual town of Silent Hill. But the other way to look at Silent Hill is to look at, that kind of psychological trauma and this other side of it and the way it goes into kind of people's psyches and that sort of thing. And in that sense, it could really be set anywhere. So this is going to be set in a new location. It's not the first Silent Hill to do that. Silent Hill 3 and Silent Hill The Room technically were not in Silent Hill, although you did visit it at one point, but were predominantly set outside of Silent Hill. So this is not an entirely new thing. You'll be playing as a girl. Her name is Shimizu Hinako, and she's going to be a grade school student, so she's some kind of teenager. And yeah, this is going to be the first Resident Evil to receive an 18 plus rating in Japan. And they've put some disclaimers on the website that give us a reason why. So I'm going to go through some of these. Kriya's probably going to hate me for this, but I'm going to go through some of the reasons that this game is going to be rated mature. So it says blood, gore, intense violence, and partial nudity. That's the quick and easy of it. But the ESRB description says this is a survival horror action game in which players assume the role of a student confronting supernatural entities in a 1960s Japanese mountain town. From a third-person perspective, players explore the town, solve puzzles, interact with characters, and battle enemy creatures, example, humanoid monsters, mutants, and mythical creatures. Players use axes, crowbars, knives, and spears to defend against and kill enemy creatures in melee-style combat. Blood spatter effects occur frequently as characters are attacked. Several areas depict large bloodstains in the environment and near corpses. Some enemy attacks can result in player characters getting impaled in the neck and or getting their faces ripped apart. And this next part, if you're adverse to spoilers, you might want to skip ahead maybe 60 seconds or so. Cutscenes sometimes depict gore and more intense acts of violence. A character burned alive inside a cage, a woman branded by a hot iron, entrails and sinew displayed on serving platters in fantastical celebration ceremony, a character sawing her own arm off, a character slicing off portions of a character's face during a ritual. Concept art depicts a nude mannequin-like character with exposed buttocks, partially exposed breasts. The character appears in a creature-like form throughout the game. So, pretty graphic. This one's going to be kind of insane, and the updates and graphics are going to be make it pretty realistic. So it's pretty understandable why they gave it the rating they did. But that is actually kind of interesting reading into it because it did say players use axes, crowbars, knives, and spears and melee style combat, which means it sounds like there are going to be no guns this time around, which is somewhat interesting, but makes sense because I mean it is 1960s Japan, so how is this little civilian girl going to get her hands on a gun? Probably not too likely. So that is a bit of a departure from previous entries. So it looks like it's going to be a little more survival. Also, in multiple, not just here, but in multiple other locations, they, places where they're putting information down, they do put an emphasis on puzzles. So it looks like this game is going to be a little less action oriented and maybe a little bit more puzzle oriented. And that's going to tie in with something I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Also, a note from the official site says, kind of as a warning for people who are looking to play, this game contains depictions of gender discrimination, child abuse, bullying, drug-induced hallucinations, torture, and graphic violence. This game is set in Japan in the 1960s and contains depictions based on customs and culture of that time. These depictions do not reflect the opinions and values of the developers or any individuals involved. If you feel uncomfortable at any point while playing, please take a break or speak to someone you trust. So a little bit of a trigger warning there that, they are going to be dealing with some very mature themes that maybe some people would be uncomfortable with. So if this looks like the game for you, go ahead and look into it. But if any of that sounds a bit too much for you, like I'm pretty sure Korean's probably thinking right now, there is a 0% chance I will ever play this game. Might want to avoid this one. I'm actually very intrigued. But yeah, so we can see that this is why this is going to be the first 18 plus rated game in Japan. So a central theme of the game is going to be finding the beauty in terror. So in the transmission, one of the developers said that when something becomes too intensely beautiful or perfect, it instead becomes deeply unsettling. So kind of a uncanny valley thing, I suppose, there, something too good to be true. He said that this is a common theme in Japanese horror. So this is what they're going to be exploring. And he also said that this is going to tie into the core decision in the game, though he did not go into further detail as to what that decision is. But again, I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Also, we're seeing a lot of new faces here working on it. The writer is Ryukishi07, who is a pretty famous writer in Japan. He wrote Higurashi When They Cry. And it looks like Silent Hill is going to be a bit similar to that. If you played that game, then you'd be familiar with the fact that you're playing through multiple timelines. So you're basically playing a series of events that are occurring over and over and over again, or at least are happening at the same time. And you're trying to prevent those. So basically in that game, you would play through a story arc where you play through the game and you see what's happening. And then you would play through the answers arc where you basically go through that part again, but now you're kind of getting a better idea of what's actually happening, what's going on. And as you go through these story arcs and these answer arcs, you're figuring out that you're actually kind of replaying the same point in time multiple times. And it looks like that might be tying into Silent Hill because they did say that this game is going to require multiple playthroughs to get the full story. So you're not going to be able to get the full story of Silent Hill F the first time through. They said you're going to have a lot of questions after you do that. So you are going to have to go through, play it again to kind of get a sense of what's going on. And there are multiple, throughout the trailer, there are multiple, I forgot to put the trailer up here. I feel kind of foolish now. But there are multiple references to the main character, Hanako, being either alive or dead. Like, even, I think, maybe another character mentions, oh, she's dead. And then later on, they're like, oh, you're alive, which means that you've made it this far. So it does sound like we're going to be going through kind of a life and death kind of thing going on here. Also, the aesthetic of the game has slightly changed. In the older games, it was very, kind of browns and rusty reds and earth tones and, all that kind of rust and coagulated blood on walls and whatnot. But in this one, they're going more for kind of, instead of like that kind of old decrepit metal, they're going more for a corrupted organic look to it. One of the things that we're seeing a lot is the higanbana, which is a flower. In English, we would call it the red spider lily, but it's also known as the corpse flower. This flower is often associated with the afterlife in Japan and is used in funerals. So this could indicate that we are kind of going into the afterlife, or that this is kind of a, living through life and death and that sort of thing. So it looks like that's going to be a central theme of the game. Possibly, with the character going in and out of that, maybe having to go back and relive their death or something. I'm not quite sure. Nobody knows for sure. But we are also, and along with Ryukishi '07, along with him, we're also getting, I think the name is Kara, which is the new creature designer. But we are getting some old faces as well. We're getting Akira Yamaoka and Kensuke Inage. So they are the composers that have been working with Silent Hill for quite some time, and they are returning. And so they've been working on taking the similar themes from the previous Silent Hills, kind of giving them a little bit of a Japanese spin, and making it so that the fog world, which is our world, and the other world have unique musical themes to them. So yeah, and then this is going to be very much based in Japanese horror. So a lot of the creatures are going to be based on the kind of Japanese monsters you're used to, either yokai or urban legends or sort of thing. So this is looking very exciting to me. I know certain people like Korean are going to be very not excited to play this game, but I'm really looking forward to this. So hopefully we'll be getting an announcement of the release date soon.
Perfect. Since I have no words to describe the horror that appeared in my imagination, Antoine, do you want to add anything about Silent Hill?
Honestly, I've always been more like a Resident Evil guy, so Silent Hill for me wasn't really. I haven't even seen the movie, so I just know that it's like a city in the fog, and for me it has always been like the in between life and death. So for me that would match what he said, and Japanese really like their ghost stories, so seems like a good match to me. But I could be completely wrong. I honestly didn't know nothing about Silent Hill, so nothing other than it was way too creepy for me to play at the time.
Yeah, I mean they do have themes of life and death in several of them, but mostly it's kind of a descent into yourself in a lot of times. So you're dealing with a lot of the psychological trauma that these characters have dealt with, and that's being manifested in the world. So, for instance, a lot of times the monsters that you're going to meet in these games are representative of things that have happened in their lives. So they do have like deeper meanings. It's real fun to go into some of these, to look into some of the lore videos and stuff like that, and you just look at some of the monsters and what they represent, and some of that is really kind of. So you're not too far off.
All right, Antoine, take us away with your first story about Star Wars or the other one.
No, let's go Star Wars. Hello, gamers. Boring news. Yet another live service game dies again. Follow this story on the Middle Age Gaming channel. Welcome back on Middle Age Gaming, and today we're gonna talk about a very bad news for the fan of the Star Wars franchise. Today, Star Wars Hunters will be shutting down. And not today yet, but in October 2025. And now I'm gonna stop this very boring tone because I'm gonna get tired and you're gonna get tired of it very quick. So yeah, as I said, so unfortunately, Star Wars Hunters, which is a free-to-play mobile game in the same vibe as Overwatch or Apex, didn't make enough money, and Zynga and Lucasfilm were really counting on a bigger success to make it worth supporting more for much longer. That was not the case. So unfortunately, they made the decision to shut down the game in October 2025 after some final updates said they will make this April. So this mobile game was built as a game that would entertain for years to come. But unfortunately, as we have seen with previous title, like, Concord, Justice League and everything, hero-based arena combat, stuff like this, free-to-play hero shooter, is just really not a thing anymore. So it's not really surprising that they're gonna announce that. I think it's very good for them to cut their losses now. Even IGN, I'm gonna find it back because I had it in my notes, but the guy who reviewed it from IGN really had it down right away. Oh, I'll find it again. That's my fault for having, like messy notes, right? But anyway, this announcement also serves as a 30-day notice, allowing players to max out their arena passes, and after which in-app purchases will be turned off on April 15. April 15 as well is when Season 5 will be receiving a 3-week extension, during which event and shop bundles will be a rerun. The ranked season will also be extended, and the final content update is set for that date, April 15th, which will be adding a new support hunter named Tuya, which will be available immediately for all players. So, unfortunately, not good enough, too much competition. Another live service hero shooter bites the dust that may have been easily forecastable, unfortunately. And well, that might trigger a few people. That's fine. But once upon a time, especially our age, we would have killed for anything Star Wars related, especially a game or anything. We had a few, but Star Wars game have always been mid. And these days, not only the games are mid, but everything Disney is doing with the saga is really just more content than anything else. And clearly, the name of this title, of this legendary saga, has been completely watered down. So each time you hear a new Star Wars game is coming out, even though some from time to time, the one with Cal Kestis was great, right? Was actually quite good. But more times than another, you just hear, another Star Wars content. You're like, yeah, cool. Woohoo. So Star Wars hero shooter, unfortunately, that didn't work. Pretty easy to see, unfortunately, and that's how it will finish. So if you really like the game, enjoy it, because October 2025, that will be the end of it. And I found back what the IGN guide said. He called it back in June 2024 when it was released, I think. Yeah, because it's actually a pretty good new game. It was only released like last summer. Said it's like a party at the Death Star, fun for a bit, but probably not a place you'll want to hang around for long. He was dead on the money.
And then what do you think
And
about
that's
Star Wars?
yeah.
Sorry, Antoine, I cut you off.
No. Exactly same question. What do you guys think about this? Because I told you this story was quite short, unfortunately.
Party at the Star Wars, fun for a bit. You probably don't. Puffs was at the Death Star, fun for a bit, but you probably don't want to stay too long. That's actually pretty brilliant. I don't know, props to whoever said that. That's hilarious to me. Yeah, no. Looking at the trailer, I am a bit confused as to some of these things. Like, is that a droid Jedi? Because aren't droids unable to use the Force? I don't know. They've changed so much with Star Wars. I don't even know what the rules are anymore. I do like 2 Jawas in a trench coat though. That's pretty great. So, but yeah, I'll be honest though. If I'm being, and maybe I'm gonna make some people mad by saying this, but I saw the headline of something about Star Wars Hunters, and I kind of ignored it. I just kind of saw it out of the corner of my eye. I thought it was a new game. I had never heard of this game. So I was like, oh, okay, there's a new Star Wars game coming out. And then, I come in now and Antoine's like, oh yeah, this game's been around for a while and it's going off, it's they're shutting it down. And I'm kind of like, oh, that is the complete opposite of what I thought was happening. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't play a lot of mobile games, I'll be honest with you. So maybe that's partially why I have no idea what this is. So but it is always sad to see games go. I am always disappointed when a game like this goes, because I mean, yeah, maybe it's not successful, but in my personal opinion, I've always thought, gaming should be for everyone. Not every game has to be for everyone. We don't have, games shouldn't necessarily try to appeal to a broad audience. That appealing to a niche audience is perfectly fine. But I do think everyone should have a game for them, and I'm sure for some people this is a game for them. And to see it go is, sad for those people, because now they have to find something else, and that's always disappointing for me to see any game go under for that reason. especially when the idea is like, oh, it didn't have broad appeal, so we should make games broader and more generic so that they're able to compete on a larger level with everything else. So yeah, that's my little soapbox. I kind of wish games would go more niche instead of more broad, but it is what it is. You can't really help it. I mean, gaming is an industry. Developers need to get paid, and they need to make money to do that, and games need to sell to make money. So it's just a fact of life. It's the way things have to be, I guess.
Absolutely. And this niche is already pretty filled up with all the Apex and Overwatch and stuff of this world. So it was a very lofty ambition of them to release this in June 2024. So a while after the party, right? Really. So, well, they didn't have a great horizon in front of them, and it really proved true. So sorry, but hero shooter, if there's any more mobile games that we don't know on the market,
Oh, there will be.
well, yes, they might not have a great future, unfortunately.
Yeah,
All right, Adam.
all the parties you
Oh,
want to
sorry.
show up late for, the Death Star party is not the one you want to be late for, because we all saw what happened to that.
Adam, take us away with story number 2.
You're not going to do any of yours?
I am, but I'll do mine's last since I just have one.
Shock and awe. All right, fine. I will do my second story then. I am going to be covering, because next week on Tuesday, actually, so I would have 24 hours before the thing announced. Might as well do it a week before. Final Fantasy 14. How can I forget one of my favorite games? Final Fantasy 14. The new patch has come down. It is called The Seekers of Eternity. This is patch 7.2, and it is going to be releasing March 28th. So some things we can look forward to in this new patch are new story, because it always happens with, right? That's what we're here for. And we're getting a new raid. We had lightweight for the Arcadian arena. Now we're gonna have cruiserweight. So we're gonna have should be 4 new raids to do and new gear to unlock and equip. That's exciting. We're getting a new dungeon called the Underkeep. That's gonna be fun too. But what's really exciting is we're getting some pretty big changes to the game. Small changes. They are small changes, but they are very significant changes. So one of them is actually mounts now are going to be able to be mountable while moving. So previously, the way that things had always worked in Final Fantasy 14 was if you were running around and you wanted to get on your mount, you had to stop, you had to press the mount button, you had to wait for the little... You had to stop, you had to press the little mount button, you had to wait for the little timer to work out. It was basically a spell. You need to wait for the spell to cast, and then when it was cast, then your mount would pop out and you could go about your merry way. And the reason for this is because that's the way MMOs often do it. And the reason MMOs often do it that way is because a lot of MMOs have overworld PvP. And of course, it would really be sad if you're running and chasing a guy down and he suddenly hops on his mount and runs away. And that would just be really annoying. So, to get on a mount, you have to be at least relatively safe for a second and a half to be able to do it. But Final Fantasy 14 does not have that kind of PvP. It does have PvP, and PvP is getting an overhaul this patch, but it doesn't have that. So, this is kind of a holdover from older ways that mounts were done. And so now, basically, when you hit that mount button, you'll still get the cast timer, but, you don't have to stand still for it. You can just continue doing what you're doing, and you'll mount it while you're running. So you're going to save yourself a whole second and a half of every single time. So that's going to add up. I've been playing this game since this point, I don't know, maybe 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. So how many seconds and a half have I added up over the years? I don't know. I'll probably save in the next however many years, I'll probably save myself a good, 5 minutes, maybe 10. So, that's it. But it is a quality of life thing. So, it doesn't sound like a big deal, and I am joking, but it is actually quite a significant deal. Another thing that's going to be really awesome is they have a sprint, basically a spell again. You hit sprint, you get a boost of speed for X number of seconds, and then it wears off, and then you have to wait for the cooldown, and then you can hit sprint again. So now what's going to happen is if you are in a city or a sanctuary or someplace like that, a non-combat zone, and you hit sprint, when it wears off, the spell's going to wear off, but your character's going to have, they're going to maintain this kind of jogging buff where they're moving at a faster than normal running speed, not quite as fast as sprint speed, but it is going to help you be a little zippier and, you know, get around, especially if you're doing things like if you're in like a harvesting zone or something like that, and you know you're running from tree to tree. It's going to save you a lot of time when you don't have to like stop and wait for your mount, or you have to like, oh, my sprint is on cooldown, so I'm walking now. You know, so this is going to be, it's going to save you a little bit of time. You know, it's not going to be a huge difference in the grand scheme of things, but you're going to feel it. It's going to feel very different. So that's really cool. We're also looking forward to 2 updates with this coming patch. Now, this is 7.2, but these 2 things are not going to be coming till 7.25, and another one, not quite sure, maybe 7.22 or something like that. The first one is going to be Cosmic Exploration. So this is going to be similar to the 𝙎𝙪𝙥𝙦 Restoration. This is going to be gathering and crafting content only. Basically, you're going to be taking the lolliprits, which are those little rabbit dudes, live on the moon, and you're going to be going out into space with them. You're going to be exploring different planets and whatnot, and doing all these quests. You're going to have a mech that you're going to be able to run around in, you know, so we're going to have a little mech warrior stuff going on. That's kind of exciting, you know, new content to do. And also in 2.5, which is coming in May, so the Cosmic Exploration is coming in April. In 2.5, coming in May, we're getting Occult Crescent, which is a new zone. And this is where you're going to be able to farm for your phantom weapons, which is basically the new relic form of relic weapons, which is basically, you know, high-end content. You can unlock these weapons that are for end-game stuff. So this is where you're going to be able to get those, is these phantom weapons, which are going to be in this, what was it again? Occult Crescent. So looking forward to that coming in May. And then in the next patch, I think 7.3, we're going to be getting a new deep dungeon. So that's exciting. That's going to be help with leveling. So I am a few quests away from completing this most recent patch. I was playing it. I got all my raid gear, so I am, you know, max level gear, you know, outside of Savage content and whatnot. But I had a few quests to go. But around that time, what was it? Was it Freedom Wars came out, and then Duality came out, and so I've been kind of putting it on the back burner. So I do need to get back in and finish the quest and all that. So I will be ready to go when this new patch comes. So I'm excited. I'm sure a lot of Final Fantasy 14 people out there are really excited as well. So yeah, look forward to that coming next week.
Sounds exciting for Final Fantasy 14 people, which I don't think is Antoine or myself at the moment.
I wish, but again, that's far too much time to just catch up on the current content. So yeah.
Yeah, I have the same problem. I think I tried Warframe last year, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so much to do. There's all these different things. They changed this and this and this, and I'm like, oh god, I love Warframe. It's the game I spent the most time with in my life ever, but I think I can never go back just because I stopped playing for too long.
Yeah, that's an issue.
All right, Antoine, run this off with your second story, please.
Okay, let me just think what kind of hook can I have. Oh well. We'll find one later maybe.
Sure.
What? That's all right. Hello there, gamers! Get excited because we have 2 day 1 release on Xbox in April, and I'm not gonna talk about Clair Obscur. So follow us up after this terrible end of a hook. Whatever. Hey gamers! Do you want an adventure that really smells like an old bayou? Well, Compulsion Game and Xbox Studios have got you covered. On April 8th, come South of Midnight, $50 on Steam, day 1 release on Game Pass as I just said, and it will also be released on console on Xbox Series X and S, sorry, and I didn't see any news on PlayStation, so at this time, I guess not. And so that's one of a very well and long awaited game, which is the first game of a compilation game since they were bought by Xbox Studio back in 2018. So 6 years in the making. In the making, 7 actually. Can't even count. So just to give you a bit of the setting, right? You'll be thrown in fictional deep American South that definitely looks very much like Louisiana, even if I, didn't visit it myself. I did see, Resident Evil, and it really looks like, the good old freaky bayou. Sorry about people living there. Nothing against the bayou, right? But in video games, it's usually quite the horror setting. So, again, dark magic is in the air, but we're not talking about voodoo, right? So it's pretty much like it's fictional, but it's very much inspired. And in this game, you'll play Hazel, whose mom got wiped, literally like wiped away by a flood during a hurricane, right? They had an argument. She left the house. She wanted to go back, and oops, mama's gone. Like Dorothy the tornado. Here's mom with a flood. Goodbye, mom. So Hazel will, of course, try to find a mom, and that's when this very realistic setting turned completely like fantasy-like. So she will confront all kind of mysteries to find a mom, and it's kind of like Princess and the Frog, but with a more mature spin on it. And of course, there's no frog prince in this one. I can't compare it to Resident Evil because it's not horror. It's far more like like a third person view game, adventure game. So it's totally different. And in order to thrive and survive, Hazel will have to become what's called the Weaver. So Weaver being a magical mender of broken bonds and spirits. So it's very much like family orientated, like what happened in the past kind of game, which looks very interesting. One of the great points, at least from what I saw in the teaser and the trailer, that the art is really cool in this game, especially this. They call it stop motion, like kind of sort of, or they call it a mimic or a sort of stop motion animation. Sorry for slapping my mic. And it render very, very nicely. So it really gives you everything that all the good signals. That's going to be a very good game. I think a journalist was a bit too excited because he was calling it like one of the Game of the Year contender. I wouldn't go that far, although, you know what? Let's play the game first. We wish them a great launch, and honestly, watch a trailer. If you like it, wishlist it on Steam, because that's how game get their marketing these days. And honestly, I think I'm gonna try my hand on it again. Free on the Xbox Game Pass. So try it and tell me if you like it. I know, very short story again.
No, it's good. I mean, it sounds really interesting. I saw this trailer on YouTube, I think, at some point. It popped up on my recommendations, and I was like, this looks really fun. But yeah, given my already 6 months of gaming schedule planned out, I don't think it's gonna make it into it.
Honestly, I'm wondering, and tell me if I'm wrong, right? But I'm wondering if the political overworld these days, which makes about at least in Canada, but a lot of the world very anti-American. This story, which is very based on like deep South America, Louisiana, you can't make it more deep South, right? Will that affect it or not? I hope not, because like it's really based on kind of the local legend, which I don't know. But I always like this bayou voodoo kind of mystery kind of stuff. So I hope it works. And yeah, honestly, since it's free, I may put my hand on it in a month or two, if I can finish East 9 by the time.
Adam, any thoughts?
Yeah, I've seen some of the other trailers where they showed some of the gameplay. Looked kind of interesting. I'm with you. I'm kind of like where I got Enzoi's coming out this month, and then Claire Obscura is coming out next month, and then I've got Death Stranding. It was on point this year, and Ghost of Yotei is some point this year, and looks like probably Silent Hill F at some point this year. And I still need to catch them up on Fantasy 14, and still playing Synduality, and it's just like I've got so many things. And I've got games that I are sitting in my backlog that from like 6 years ago that I still haven't played. So I don't think I'll be picking it up. But I really like the art style. I think the art style is really cool. I mean, it is that stop motion animation kind of look, and it doesn't even look like clay animation. It looks almost like wooden in a way. Like, like they're using these kind of wooden models. So I think it looks really cool. I really like this style. So I look forward to seeing what other people are doing with it or playing with it. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be playing it myself anytime soon, especially because, as Antoine said, it's not coming to PlayStation anyway. I mean, obviously I could play it on PC, but yeah, I look forward to seeing other people play it, and looking forward to the story, seeing where that goes.
See, people, Adam is sacrificing time with his wife to play all of these games for you. You really have to watch the videos. I'm gonna guilt trip you.
No, it's kind of funny. I was working on my on the video. I finished a video yesterday, and I was working on it yesterday afternoon because my wife took a nap. So I was in the computer room working on it, and now, after about 2 hours, she came in and she's kind of like, "Why'd you leave me alone?" I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll take a break and go back and sit on the sofa with you and watch some more." We were watching Good Bones, so we're gonna watch some more.
What is Good Bones?
It's just one of these shows where they buy old houses and then refurbish them, resell
Cool.
them.
I like
It's
that
house
stuff.
flipper show.
Oh, that's cool. I like these shows.
Yeah. They're relaxing. They're great. They always make me want to play Sims, and they're great for Enjoy coming out. But they give you a lot of ideas for that. But yeah. So sometimes maybe I spend a little bit too much time. Please watch the videos. Make it worth my while.
Yes,
Show
please
my
do,
wife that
please do.
it is time well spent.
On that note, let me round off today with my one and only story. So while I've been playing Avowed, I'm like, man, I really want something relaxing because Avowed can be kind of intense sometimes. So the Steam Spring Sale is going on. Totally caught me by surprise, but it's kind of perfect because I'm going to South Africa next week. So my brothers and I each chose a game to play while we were like hanging out at my mom's house. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, is there anything else I want to buy? I did buy 2 other games, but that's another story. But I am also looking for another farming game, another sort of life sim relaxing game. So forget Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. There's a hidden gem. I mean, I guess it's not really kind of hidden. I've seen it a bunch of times on the Steam store. I just never looked at it. But basically, it's Dinkum. And Dinkum sounds like a weird name, but apparently it's some Australian slang name, which I should have looked up before I recorded this episode. But let's have a chat about it. So it is an Australian outback life simulator. So the only outback I've ever been to is the Australian Outback restaurant, which is no longer operational in Kaohsiung, because that's what happens to places that are in Kaohsiung, is they just run away after a while because nobody wants to pay the prices. But anyway, so it is a life sim game, right? It's a typical thing. You go to a place, you set up like a village or a farm, and this has a bit more of a village crafting situation than what? Then what?
Oh, we're waiting. I looked up Dinkum. It is Australian slang for genuine, honest, or true.
All right. So
sorry to
that is
you
why I stopped Adam, because I can hear your mouse clicks.
Can you?
It's all good now. It's all good. I mean, yeah. Don't worry. I will continue. Okay. Wow.
It's okay, just redo it from start.
I'll cut off the middle because I only got like the first few sections done. So, I mean, what makes the live sim games so appealing, right? Especially to me, especially to other people. I mean, like Adam talked about Silent Hill F. I can't watch that stuff because life is pretty terrible as it is. You look at the global news, you look at um, protests in Serbia. I was speaking to a Serbian colleague of mine yesterday, and he was like, yeah, he went out there and he protested. Oh, and Antoine shared the meaning of dinkum. Oh, genuine. Oh, okay. Cool. I like that. Okay. God, now I need to start again. All right. Okay. So I was looking for a live sim game, just as I was saying before. Avowed is quite intense. There's a lot of big decisions, and I was like, I want something relaxing, something without any meaningful impact. That it's happy and flowery, and rainbows and unicorns and all that sort of stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, I've seen this. This has a decent amount of reviews because sometimes you see sort of farming live sim games that have like 500 positive reviews on Steam. This has almost 20,000 reviews. I'm like, okay, this doesn't look great graphically. I mean, let's be honest, it looks like Animal Crossing when it came out 7 or 8 years ago. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that aesthetic, but I mean, compared to like a Coral Island, it's you just can't compare with it, right? But the wonderful thing about these games is that they're relaxing. Every time you log in, you play your 1 hour, you play your 30 minutes, you're getting stuff done, right? And I think like when I look at my life list of my Google tasks, I'm like, okay, here's the 26 things I need to do. And it just never, ever shortens in the last few years. And it just makes me very tired in many ways. These games always help me feel relaxed because I'm like, yes, here's the thing. I did it. I actually did a thing today. Oh my God, I feel so accomplished. And that's why I love these games, is because it feels like life goes forward. You get to do stuff. And this game has pretty much everything in there, right? Like, yes, there are other people there. Yes, there's farming, there's exploration, there's mining, there's fishing, there's catching bugs, which I never understand that because, growing up in South Africa, bugs were like disgusting, right? Bugs, not to mention a whole bunch of bugs can bite you and send you to the hospital or alternatively kill you as well. So don't like bugs at all. But I don't know why, since Animal Crossing, people always like to include bug catching in games. Palia is one, Coral Island is one as well. And you have to kind of do it, which is like, I'd like a farming game without bug catching. But what makes this special as well is that you can build a town, right? It's not just you. Typically in farm games, it's just like, here's your house. You can build stuff around your house or this piece of land. In Dinkum, you are setting up an outback town, like a town in the middle of, my Australian geography is not what it used to be, but like New South Wales, right in the middle of Australia, as opposed to the coast where most of the people live in Australia, if you've ever been there. Again, like a small village, maybe 300-400 people in this sort of place. That's what you're sort of building up. So again, it has some different things as well. Dynamic weather, seasonal changes, and activities tied to them. Activities tied to different seasons, or seasons themselves, again, not very new, but the weather is kind of different in a sense. Though other games have had, different weather. This weather apparently is supposed to be stepped up to a different level. Multiplayer, again, another thing as well is I don't know people who play farming games with like besides their partners. Like you see a lot of Instagram reels and YouTube shorts like, yes, I play this with my wife or something. But again, multiplayer is an option as well if you have someone else who likes to play this sort of game. It is super affordable. I think the usual price is like $20. It's like $5 on the Taiwanese Steam store at the moment. So really affordable, and it's going to run on your Steam Deck. It's going to run on the IO Neo series of handhelds, or the Asus, or the MSI. So again, if you're a big portable gaming fan like I am, or you're going on vacation like I am next week, this is something to buy. And yeah, so it's really is, if you're looking for a farm game and you're like, yes, I just played a bunch of series games, or I replayed all the Resident Evils and now I need to get the horror out of my head, this might be something for you to do. So tell me, are you going to pick this up? Have you picked this up? Have you played it? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and let us know down about Dinkum and if you liked it or not. All right, please unmute yourself, Adam. I'm sorry.
I'm not muted.
Oh.
You're still muted.
Yes.
I'm not muted. Oh.
So just click on the right-hand corner in the.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
I did not mute myself. Did you mute me?
I did, because
okay.
the clicks were very distracting. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm terrible at multitasking. Ask anyone. I can't do it for the life of me. He asks me to do two
No
things, and
worries.
I'll do neither one well. Yeah.
I was gonna ask both of you guys actually. Oh, Antoine sent me another photo. Adam, I thought you were finished with Singularity.
Uh, define finished. I mean, the game doesn't have a definitive beginning, middle, and end. So yeah, I've just been kind of playing around with it, just kind of completing the requests and getting getting myself into trouble mostly. So yeah, I mean, I'm still enjoying it. I really enjoy the game. It is a fun game. They just made a lot of really bad choices on how they implemented the economy. Mostly, the economy is the biggest problem in the game. But
And do you
yeah,
think
it's
there's
still
a
fun.
significant enough of people like you enjoying it where there's going to be a number two?
Uh, I would not expect a Sin Duality 2. They might have another. They might have another planned anime. That's a possibility. Um, but no, no Sin. There is going to be a season 2. They released the season 2 trailer. So we'll be getting a few new coffin cradles, and we're getting some new kind of environmental bosses. Occasionally, you do get certain bosses, but they're all what they call bandit nobles, so they're all other coffin cradles. But we're going to be getting some enders, which are the creatures that roam the world. We're going to get some big versions of those as bosses. So we're getting that. They are adjusting some of the prices of things that they said that they've looked into. For example, and to show you how screwed up the economy is, to get so you get like a free coffin cradle. It's white is the rank, so you get white, green, blue, and purple. So to get the green, which is the next, the lowest level paid stuff, you could get a you can get a the main frame is like I think 24,000 money, and the arms and legs are like 12,000 each, so it's like 48,000 to buy the whole set, which isn't too bad. But then to buy, so there's two sets you can buy of those, but then the next, but then not even upgrading, there's another set that's like the better set. It's still green, so it's still the basic rarity, but it goes from 24,000 to buy the cradle itself, to buy the core part, to 1 million. So I mean, that's a markup of like what, 40 times, something like that. So it's 40 times more expensive to go from basically the basic gear to the better gear. And then what's even weirder is your insurance. So you pay insurance, and then if you die, you get a portion of the money back. Your insurance is based on the rarity. So if I buy my gear for 48,000 and then I buy insurance on it, I'll get maybe 24,000 back, which is like maybe half. If I buy the 1 million level gear, if I buy insurance on it, it'll still cost me like 2,400, and I still only get 24,000 back. So I only get like 1/40th of the price. So it's like, why would you ever use this gear? It's so expensive. It takes so long to save it up, and you can lose it so easily that it's just not cost effective at all. I could buy 40 of the other frames. I could buy 40 mechs for the price of one. This one is not 40 times more powerful. Let me tell you. So because of that, a lot of people are not running higher level gear. They're just running the most basic gear. And that's really sad because you have all these upgrades and nobody's upgrading because it's just not cost effective to do so. So yeah, and then because a lot of people are leaving, the only people that are left are the people who are playing PvP, which makes the very few people like me who are playing the PvE side of the game, it puts us in a pretty dangerous situation because we're surrounded by PvPers. They did say that they are going to be changing the way that they do matchmaking. So if you have a high, they'll look at your kill death ratio. If you have a lot of deaths and not many kills, then they will put you in right now the way they do matchmaking is based on your progress, which basically these associations, these companies will give you requests, and as you complete these quests, you'll progress. And so based on how many of these quests you progress through, that's how they do their matchmaking. But now they're saying like, okay, well, we're going to do it that if you are killing a lot of people, you're going to be put with a lot of other PvPers. If you're not killing people, you're going to be put more often with PvEers. So they're making some adjustments, but I do worry it's a little too late. So we'll have to wait and see.
Antoine, what about 𝙂𝙀🙠? How close are you to the end?
Oh, you mean how close I am to the beginning? I literally started this weekend because, I was playing Xenoblade 2 on the Switch Lite, but my daughter is playing Undertale as well, so she keep taking the stuff. So I just can't play, like properly. So I thought, you know what, let her finish. I'm gonna play 𝙂𝙀🙠 in the meantime, and honestly, that's only my second 𝙂. And I don't know if it's a recurring feature or if they made a mistake from the fact that 𝙂8 was fantastic. Honestly, one of the best RPG I ever played. And 𝙂9, so the story start excellent, right? The story is always great, but there's always the same mechanics. Remember when I was talking to you about the beast hunt or defend? Here you have the same mechanic with Monstrum. Everything in the gameplay is the same. The only thing which really that changes the story. And story is fantastic, so that's great. But there's no, from what I see from my 1 or 2 hours of gameplay, right? I don't see any evolution to that. Same base building mechanics, except this time you're not on a desert island, you're in an old inn that you found, so you're gonna make your base over there. Same relationship with the different characters. Yeah, same mechanics, exactly same mechanics. So I don't know if it's something that's carried on from. I didn't play 1 to 7, so maybe it's just a gimmick of the series and they need to continue, or if it's something they started with 8 and thought, oh, it worked, so let's redo exactly the same in 9. In which case I would be if you reskin the same game but give a different story, okay, the story is great, but yeah. That's why I hated Far Cry 6, right? Because it's just a reskin of previous game, not really something that I enjoy. So we'll see.
I mean, on a lot of JRPGs like that, like I felt the Atelier series was the same. Like between Rise 1 and Rise 2, there was like maybe a 15% difference in mechanics. Otherwise, it was just the same game over again. Like, I mean, aren't the Final Fantasies like this? Like, aren't there like similar mechanics across? Oh, okay.
No, that's
Entirely different.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people are always saying is, when people are like, oh, I should go back to turn-based combat, and people are like, no Final Fantasies have ever been the same. They're always reinventing the wheel. This isn't something new by changing it to action. This is kind of par for course.
No, but if you want to take something similar like the Tales of, right? It's the same kind of action RPG, and combat wise, it's usually pretty much the same, but they always change stuff. That's not just the story which change, right? The battle system is kind of similar in between, and they always add or remove some stuff, right? But all the rest of the overworld is very different. Here, when I say the same, it is literally copy paste the same, exactly the same mechanic. You had base building in there, we'll do it in there. You had the beast hunt and beast defense, we'll do it exactly the same here. You had the relationship system and the quest system, we do exactly the same here. Okay, thanks. Couple of different stuff would be nice as well. Yeah, I see they added graffiti on the wall that you have to find as collectibles, right? So that because the difference is that instead of being on a desert island, you are in a city, and everything like the next Pokemon, right? The whole adventure will be within the city walls. So that's kind of difference, which actually is nice. So you need to explore the city for treasure and stuff like this in the sewers and things. We'll see, because East is a great series, and I know it's gonna be a great game. But just because of this, I reserve my judgment for later in the game.
Very cool. And on that note, so as mentioned before, I will not be here for the next 2 weeks. Adam will be taking over the duties of pushing out some videos. So look forward to some better quality videos, I would imagine. We'll see. So
But
enjoy
no
the guys.
pressure.
I will be around keeping a look, and I will probably be. I just have to think, what time would this be in South Africa? So that would be. Oh no, yeah, no. Like I said, this would be like 3 a.m. in South Africa. with you
Yeah,
guys
middle of the
recording.
night.
Yeah, yeah. I will be. I might actually be awake because I usually wake up at like 3 or 4 a.m. when I first arrive for the first few days because of jet lag and stuff. But yeah. As always, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to check out Adam's latest in duality video. There was a post about it earlier this week. Check out the shorts on Instagram and YouTube. Thanks to the 17,000 people who watched Adam talked about Hammerfall already.
Hammer fell.
Hell!
Hammer fell, god damn it.
No, yeah. I mean, they have Daggerfall, and it's just this tiny little mistake, but I am getting reamed for it online.
No, but see, not many people complained about it, but like, I guess it's just.
Most people aren't
People are
leaving
really
comments; they're
looking.
just hitting like and they're done. But the ones who leave comments, they're like amateur. It's like, yes, I've never, yeah. There's might have
Yeah,
been
I talked about a comment today. What is a guy left a comment earlier this week? It's like,
Oh, trash. Yeah, that was terrible. I let you answer because if I answered, I would have been so violent. I was like, you know what? Cool down. Let Kriyan answer that one because that's not going to be as violent.
there was someone who said something like, I can't believe grown men play games like something. I replied something about this, but he was like, I can't even remember the name. I was just like, what's wrong with playing? Like he was like, you should only play games with realistic graphics if you're a grown man, and if they're
He
not
said
realistic graphics.
exactly, trash. I don't get how grown adults play games that aren't even a tad bit realistic.
Yeah,
Clearly, a big lack of maturity on the part of that grown man, apparently. Taste and colors are different with everyone. You don't like it? Fantastic. You don't need to spread the hate. Keep your bile. Anyway.
Yeah, I was like, that was surprising. All right. Then cool. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's an interesting comment. And I don't know why I wanted to bring up. But thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to stop by next week. Check out Antoine and Adam by themselves for the next 2 weeks. And then I will see you guys back in the second week of April. All right. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.